Okay, hey everybody, welcome to an episode of On the Rest from Off the Cuff to have a fun comparison for you guys between the latest generation Alpinist release, the SPB505 on the left, against the previous generation Alpinist SPB117 on the right-hand side. Now, of course, there's been a few years between these, so there's prices are going to be different. Of course, the latest release is going to be a little bit more scarce, so you're going to be probably paying closer to full retail, which is going to be $9.95, whereas the previous model is full retail at $7.50, where you'll probably be finding more and more on deals wherever they have new old stock remaining. So either way, if you've been holding out on getting a black dial Alpinist, now is the time. You could either get one heck of a deal on an older model, or if you've been waiting for something that had, just that little bit more of an X factor, I think that you'll also be quite pleased with this latest iteration, where they've even added the Alpinist branding back to the dial, which I absolutely can appreciate. Other small differences include between these two models. Of course, you're going to see the mixture of the numerals versus just the quote-unquote shark teeth indices on the right-hand side. So it's not a one-to-one, but these are both the current black dial options, or I should say current and past black dial options. So I think that they're going to appeal to anybody that's in that Hamilton khaki field space, all the way up to Aquaterra space, or Railmaster, or of course Rolex Explorer from that perspective, except this is going to be a lot more affordable. And of course, I think these compare really well to watches like even the Zen 556 line, which I've owned a few different iterations over the years, which didn't stick around, but these Alpinists always end up sticking around. So with that said, let's go ahead and zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, now of course similar looks, but definitely a couple different attributes here. One of the main things, apart from of course the basic dial layout, is going to be the dial itself. You're going to see a sunray texture here that actually has a little hint of a chocolatey color to it if you do get it illuminated enough, but typically it's going to render as black. Versus here is going to be actually a matte dial finish, which is pretty much always going to be black or a washed out variation of that. Also, you have fully polished indices here, which are not going to contrast well against while reflecting against a black camera lens. Versus here, you actually have indices that have, as you can see, a blasted finish. So it is matte, so it's going to hold and retain that light a little bit better because it's not going to be as reflective. So of course, still coming off against a black camera lens, you're not giving it much light, but with a little tilt there, you can see very nice. And then here, when you give it a little tilt, still you're going to be missing a lot because it's still reflecting off of a dark room. Sorry about the focusing issues there. It's trying to look at these very closely. It's doing actually a pretty decent job, but it can be a bit confusing. So this is the newest release. I love it. This is the previous release, which I also love. I mean, I like this one so much that it was like even a buddy watched me and my younger brother both own this same model. That's how much I appreciate it, and I think it's a great watch. And honestly, if I didn't have a huge collection, this could easily be a one watch when you think about the specs, which is true for almost any Alpinist, of course, apart from the fact of different colorways, you're going to have different levels of versatility for daily wear. But in terms of the dimensions, they're pretty much the same, 39.5. We got 12.8 versus 12.9, 20 millimeter lug width, flat sapphire with inner AR coating, and it's a super clear AR. Also, you're going to have, on both of these, you're going to have magnifying Cyclops there, so little date magnifier on both, except here you're going to see they took a step back to the more old school style where they actually do the matching reverse date there in terms of the dark disc with the bright font in terms of the numeral with an outer border, versus here they went to kind of a little bit more contrasty there, of course, with the white disc, no border or anything like that. So different takes. I think visually this one's a bit more cohesive, whereas of course this one is probably a bit more functional. And then everything else, 46.3 millimeters lug to lug, 20 bar, 200 meters of water resistance, screw down crowns. the movements here, we got the 6R55, which is an upgrade over the 6R35. So you're getting the full 72-hour power reserve versus the previous 70-hour power reserve. So full 3 days. Both of them are beating at 3 hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour in terms of that beat rate. But yeah, there's not too much, but I know people like seeing things side by side. So I thought, hey, I have both of these models. Let's go ahead and get them side by side. Also, in terms of that pricing difference, I don't remember if I mentioned yet, though. I've actually picked up this one from thewatchconnection.com in Costa Mesa. So big shout out to Noah for getting me the best pricing available. If you guys are interested in doing the same, definitely check the links down in the description. I believe they even had this model on sale if it is currently in stock. Maybe they could even get some old stock and get it to you at a lower price. So check those links down below. Now, with that said, again, there's not too much to go over here. I've reviewed both of these models in detail. So let's go ahead and just get them on the wrist and compare how they wear. Okay, as you guys can see on my 7.5-inch wrist or 19 centimeter in circumference wrist, it looks great. Of course, my wrist is on the larger side of average at 7.5 inches, but it's quite a tall and round wrist, as you guys can see. So I do have to be, of course, considerate of lug to lug and ultimate proportions. But I will say the Alpinist is a watch that I've always really enjoyed the way that it wears. Some might say it's a little top heavy. I don't mind it at all. It feels quite solid and capable. Of course, if I get my wrist a bit too close to the camera lens, all of a sudden it makes the watch seem a lot larger and more bulbous. The sides of my wrist are falling away, which means you're seeing less of the bracelet. So I'll keep my wrist nice and low and then just tighten up the frame here so that you guys can get still a detailed look, but just add a bit of a truer aspect ratio as how this may lay on your own wrist. And you guys can see I'm loving that. And on this one, yes, I enjoy this one as well. Look at that. Also quite handsome, quite great. I mean, really. And some of you might be complaining again about legibility. Just remember, I'm in a dark room and the camera lens is black. So, yeah, there's not a lot to reflect off of. The minute I tilt my wrist, check it out. There we go, reflecting off of a little bit of white off camera in the background. And there you have it. In the real world, there'll be plenty for it to reflect off of. Speaking of real world, check it out. There's also a bit of damage you can notice, little wear marks and whatnot, where the N-Link interfaces with the first link there. And with this model, hey, one of the differences is that it does have that DiaShield hard coating, so a little bit less likely. Of course, you're still going to have those high wear, high friction points, but you're just going to have a little bit of extra protection. You'll probably notice maybe a slight difference in tone there. Maybe that's a little warmer. This one's a little bit brighter, a little bit cooler, but not by much. I wouldn't say this has like some deep tone, like titanium like or something like that. This still definitely looks like a bright stainless steel. It just again does have that DiaShield hard coating, or super hard coating as it sometimes is referred to. But I do really enjoy the additional legibility here, and not that I didn't enjoy this. This is a great watch. Again, it could easily be a one watch at that. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. We'll go ahead and get these off the wrist, set up for some Lume shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Hey, check it out. So very similar in terms of the Lume. I'd say maybe you could say the newer model has slightly more surface area there, but in terms of the compounds, both Lume-Bright, both quite bright, but of course, again, there's going to be slightly less surface area in general on Alpinists. They're not soaked in Lume by any means. But one thing I always like to work in is going to be a bit of a low light transition, because not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. And as you guys can see, when we do have light on the dial, you're going to notice, hey, the newer model is going to be infinitely more legible. But check this out. There are some benefits depending on what type of light, where, oh, I had it, lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Look at this. So now when you're reflecting off of something, you're in the dark. Right now it's the white ceiling. That is reflecting down enough on, of course, those polished surfaces, but not on the matted they're not keeping it up as much. So again, there's trade-offs. It's not like one is, flat out better than the other. Of course, and aesthetically, you can absolutely have your own subjective preferences. But in terms of quality and whatnot, same brand, same factories. Really, there are an increased level of spec here in terms of adding that dia shield to the case and the bracelet, and then of course having a movement that has been slightly updated to have the additional power reserve. And from what I've heard, also they've improved a lot of the timekeeping. In terms of some of the variances that other people have. I've been lucky. I've had very good luck with 6R movements in the past. So that's still today, and I own a lot of Seikos, but I completely understand sometimes people get some and they're unhappy with the way that they run. So, but I mean, at the same time, they're also not promised, and they're not regulated to that level to where there's a whole lot of that in the sales pitch. So with that said, guys, let me know which one you prefer of the two. We'll go ahead and get the lights back on here and check these out. They're both handsome, again, in slightly different ways, but still very similar. Notable differences here: the $245 price difference between the two, at least at full retail. Of course, you can have different deals where you might get them at different price points. In terms of features, the SPB505 does have that hard coating on the case, on the bracelet, and then also you get those extra 2 hours of power reserve with that latest iteration of the 6R movement. So you have the full 3 days. Bottom line, if you can get an older one at a discount, now is the time to pounce, considering how collectible the Alpinist family has been historically. But if you've been waiting for an Alpinist different enough while also being traditional enough to hit your sweet spot, I think these latest Alpinist branded units, not just the black dial, but there are some other ones, more traditional, green and gilt, as well as that very handsome and vibrant kind of bluish green tone. I think these might be exactly what you've been waiting for. So if you have been waiting for an Alpinist that is versatile, right, but also still quite iconic, I think that's really what these latest models have capitalized on. You're getting that additional versatility with a colorway like this, but you're getting that same iconography that you can appreciate with something like the good old SARB Alpinist, the 017, with the green and gilt status. So very, very cool. Of course, there were other Alpinists before that, the red Alpinist line with the higher beat movements and everything, but those are, again, very collectible, and not everybody's into paying that much for a Seiko watch. So with that said, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please hit like, and if you're already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.